you're on time for yet another edition of The Bottom Line right here on Lookup TV. My name, as always, is Eugene Nangwe. I know that we've all been waiting for this conversation and we've been preparing for it. And of course, a very important conversation, which we all must have by all means. We know that Kenya is already in a political mood. And of course, as we look towards the 2022 elections, definitely this conversation is important, and that is the politics of the politics of tribalism. Can Kenya rid itself of the politics of tribalism? I know we've had a typo somewhere there. I know David McKiley has given us some editing right there. Thank you so much for that. But this is the conversation I want us to have. We understand that Kenya, since time immemorial, our politics has been majorly driven by the tribe. Mtu wetu, watu wetu, ni wakati wetu. You know, it is time for us to also have our person at the top seat. And most of these things have been, said to be what is leading to some of the problems we continue to see in the country, where a leader is vying and his people push him there so that they can be able to get the resources allocated towards their side. I want to hear your thoughts. You can be able to talk to us. The hashtag, as always, is THEBOTTOMLINEKE. Just put up that particular hashtag. That's what we'll be following throughout the show, to be able to read your tweets as they come up. You can tweet me directly at Eugene Anangwe, or you can tweet at Lookup TV. We are live across all platforms on Facebook. Welcome to all our viewers watching us on Facebook. Let's also welcome our viewers who are watching us live on YouTube, and of course on our website, www.look-up.tv. Let me welcome our panelists on the program. And of course, let me start off with Honorable Jimmy Kahindi, who's the Speaker of Kilifi County Assembly. Mheshimiwa Jimmy, thank you so much for making time on the program.
Thank you very much.
Also with us is none other than Davidson Ngibuini. Yeah. I don't know if I've said it well, but I'm popularly aware of DNG.
Yes, it's Ngibuini.
Ngibuini.
Yes.
And that's what many of us just know, the DNG aspect.
Yes.
Welcome to the program. You're now getting yourself into politics. You'll be vying and you'll be telling us a bit more about that particular move.
Yes, indeed.
But also in absentia, who'll be joining us later on in the program is Oliver Kipchumba. He's a political commentator. He'll be jumping on board any moment from now. But gentlemen, let me start off by throwing this to you. I'll start with you, Mheshimiwa Jimmy.
Yes.
Are we as a nation already tailored and accepted this whole narrative that our politics is tribal? Tunaonewa ama ni ukweli? Do you see it as a politician we mwenyewe?
Yes.
Yes.
I think to begin with, we need to go back in history to find out how did we start this animal called tribalism. You know, during the pre-colonial period, we communities were living together in harmony. But with the advent of colonialism, and the British came, they brought this issue of divide and rule.
Yes.
And I think that's where the genesis started, pitting one community against the other. And then when we fast forward after the British went away, what happened? We saw what happened with the first presidency. Then with the advent of KANU and KADU. So we need to understand the history of where we've come from in terms of tribalism, and really how best we can do as a country to overcome it. So I would say, yes, tribalism is something which is enrooted in our culture.
Enrooted?
Yes.
And we accepted it?
To some extent, yes. But that's really...
You accept it?
I don't accept it. I don't accept it because, unlike other countries like Tanzania, for example, there are things which the country has done to ensure that you get rid of tribalism. Yeah. But in this country, it has always been mtu wetu, it's our time to eat, and that's a really bad narrative for the country.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me ask DNG to jump in on this. DNG, you are a fresh blood in politics. Jumping into this, you have made it very clear that when you first mentioned that you want to get into politics, there are those who are naysayers. And they've been saying, Mheshimiwa Jimmy has mentioned about time immemorial, the historical aspect of it. But the new blood that is coming into our politics, are you one of those people who are also going to say, status quo, we found it like this, and so, if I need to survive, let me start mobilizing the people from my place, so that now they see me as mutu wao, in order for me to make it in 2022. How are you newbies in the politics world going to change this narrative? Will you even do it?
I think first and foremost, change is beckoning.
Yeah.
Change is with us.
Yeah.
Change is unstoppable.
Yeah.
And we're in a great moment where we have an opportunity that's grand to change the narrative. Yes, the narrative has been tribal politics, and we've seen the alignments and the associations around voter blocks. Yeah. You know, this region coming together with this region so that they can destabilize and get rid of this other region. I think the question that I may pose tonight is, how has that helped us? How has tribal politics brought about development? Yes, we've seen presidents from one region. For example, we currently have a president from Central Kenya. Are we saying that those from Central Kenya are benefiting, that those from Central Kenya do not have unemployment and not dealing with poverty? Are you saying that those from Central Kenya have $1 million shillings each deposited in their bank accounts from the exchequer? At what point do we start seeing the benefits of tribal politics is my question. As newbies, or as a newbie myself, in Kenyan politics, I'd say that I'm not banking on tribal politics at all. All I'm banking on is the need for change, the desire for development in my constituency, in my ward, amongst my generation. In fact, if you'd ask me, would be better off dealing with generational politics rather than tribal politics. Yeah. Because if you look at it from a tribal perspective, I do not believe that Central Kenya has benefited in any way from having a president coming from that region. In fact, it's even worse. If you look at all the promises that were given to that region alone, if you look at the industry in that region, be it coffee, be it tea, where's the progress?
Are you saying this because of the party you are aligned to, that is the UDA, the Tanga wing, or it is because that is exactly what you've seen on the ground? Let's talk about now the politics of ideology.
Yes.
And how we can promote that.
I wouldn't say because of Tanga, but I'd say I'm a member of UDA because of the ideologies. Yeah. If you look at UDA as a party and its constitution and the kind of mix from a regional perspective, we have people from all over the country. We have a party leader from one part of the country. I myself am not from his part of the country, yet we can come together and be members of one party with one vision, which is change. And for me, joining UDA, if you look at my initiative, Hustle Yako, for example, it's about empowering those that have been impoverished. It's about empowering young people that have not been given representation in any form of government. Young people, be it as they are the majority in this country, yet they are the most underrepresented.
All right. Mheshimiwa Speaker, is he out of order? Is he out of order?
I think I would say
that, the party he subscribes to is more of ideologies as opposed to the one you subscribe to that probably has been part of the tribal politics, which he says, let's talk about generational politics as opposed to tribal politics. Is he out of order?
I think to some great extent he might be out of order because he's trying to give out the manifesto of his party. But ideally here what we're looking at is how has tribalism affected Kenya, right? And is it something that we should embrace, or is it something that we should try to get rid of? Let me tell you, there has been some constitutional efforts that have been brought about in order to end this issue of tribalism. Because when you look at the causes of tribalism, mostly people converge into their tribal cocoons because they're fighting for resources. Yes. Right? And one of the best ways that this country has attempted to get rid of this monster, I call it a monster, is by the constitutional change that came in 2010. Right? When you go back, you would realize that the first president of this country was from Mount Kenya. Okay. And then we had Moi who came in, and then we had another president from the same area. The other parts of the country felt like, they don't belong here. That's why there was need to push to have some changes in the constitution 2010. And then that constitution brought about devolution. I think the underlying principle of devolution was to try to get rid of this tribalism, because everybody is aligning himself to a particular tribe that he comes from. But when you ask yourself and when you go deep to find out what necessitates all that, is because of the national resources. And then, therefore, when you trace it back, and you know, the 2010 Constitution actually traced back from the, you know what the KADU stood for, federalism. We used to call it Majimbo. And what it essentially means, you decentralize power from the top organ, which is Nairobi here, and take it to the people. But we've seen where we are right now.
But Mheshimiwa, it's not working.
It's not working.
It hasn't worked.
It's not working
because already we are still seeing people seemingly regrouping to mobilize their backyards.
And that is the most unfortunate thing. You see, one of the most effective way that a country can get rid of tribalism is to first understand what causes it. Why is it that every time we have an election, people regroup back into their communities?
So you feel it's about resources?
It's about resources. It's about resources. And in my view, I say the answer was given by the 2010 Constitution. It's very unfortunate that before we even think of, you know, effectively implementing that Constitution, we are already having changes which are coming in, all right? And that has not been effective also. So you realize then we are going towards another election and people are starting to regrouping back to their tribal cocoons. And that is really the unfortunate thing that we're having as a country.
Yeah, but if you say it's about resources, DNG says the current leadership of the country, from where he comes from, in his opinion, has not been able to enjoy those resources. So then what is it about?
You know, when you look at, and I want to be informed by the 2010 Constitution, the 2010 Constitution was very clear that we are going to have the central government, which is the national government, and then we're going to have the devolved units, all right? The essence was to decentralize power and resources. But you see, the unfortunate bit is that we still have the leaders who are still at the top. They have clung on, they're still holding into some of these powers and the resources. And that is why you realize people are still crying, even though we still have devolution, people are feeling we are not getting the change that we need. So, and to that extent, you would realize that the presidency is from one region, but even the people from that region are not seeing the fruits. Why? Because they have not let the resources to go down to the grassroots.
Right. DNG, the argument for devolution, according to some quarters, was that many people, the population, the voters, always felt like our person is the one who needs to be the president. So the presidency attracted a lot of attention. And if our person failed to become the president, then a majority of the voters who supported that candidate would feel like they have really lost. And so the governors and their county governments were now to become, that governor becomes the president of your area.
Precisely.
Who has even his own ministry, he has his first lady, he has his cars and everything. So whether whoever becomes president, you know, the counties were not supposed to care, you know, because they had their own government down here. And so the question we're asking tonight is, then what was it that would push these voters to want their person to be the one seated at State House and not the other State House in the county government?
I think it's what we've been used to for a very long time. We all grew up in a time when there was no devolution. In fact, as he's rightfully said, the new constitution is the one that introduced that spirit of devolution. And it's a great idea. I, for one, I'm a big advocate for the 2010 constitution. In fact, I'm extremely against BBI because what BBI is trying to do is trying to take us to another sphere, yet we've not yet accomplished where we are right now. I feel like there's so much that this 2010 constitution has in store for us that we've not yet even begun to experience it. You know, we've not yet begun to savor the delicacy of the 2010 constitution. In terms of resources, I believe that that's where we should be focused on, and the devolution has made that possible, that now the resources that are being channeled down at the grassroots level. I feel like that's where all our concentration should be at. We should be looking at those positions you've mentioned, the governor, the women rep, the senator, the MP, the MCA, you see, because that's where real administration is taking place. That's where the bylaws are being enacted. Even the challenges that we've seen, like, say, for example, the penalties of not being able to park Mira in a certain way, those are bylaws. And I feel like even in terms of dealing with some of the challenges we're dealing with, be it education, that's now, you know, being devolved, the healthcare, in terms of policy, policies that allow businesses to be set up in the counties. All those are bylaws. So I feel like the problems of Kenya are not just presidential problems. Yes, we have a problem at the top, we are aware of that. But apart from that, how else can we be able to drive this country forward in the right direction? So I feel like we shouldn't just focus on the presidency. It's not the only elective position available. I feel like, you know, that notion of our person, our tribe must be president, as I've said earlier, it doesn't help anybody. Speaking from experience, it doesn't help anybody. The only people who benefit from their president or the person they want to become president, becoming president, are the inner circle. Those that break bread with the president, those that cut deals based on the president, the kitchen cabinet, the deep state, so to speak. Those are the only people that benefit. The rest of Kenya, the rest of us, perhaps 47 million plus, benefit in which way again?
Quick question. Would we be correct to agree that and accept that we are a tribal country, and that one, there is nothing wrong with embracing our diversity, and probably what we should be trying to do is seeking inclusivity, as opposed to saying, can we slay the tribal politics dragon? I mean, because this conversation has been there even before I was born, of trying to say that can we politics of tribe, and if we can't slay this dragon, would it be correct to start saying what conversation should we start having of ensuring inclusivity based on where we come from and the communities, the diverse communities that we come from?
Inclusivity, yes, is the way to go, where everybody feels they are part and parcel. But remember, not all of us can be part of government. Not all of us can be employed by the state. Not all of us can have GK number plates. Not all of us can have those kind of benefits. I feel like what we need to do is totally eradicate politics of division, which tribalism is politics of division. The only reason why it exists is because we're able to divide and conquer. You understand? That when people form a grouping around a particular tribe, they're able to separate themselves and gang up against the other party or the other group of people. That's the only reason. As he said earlier, this was introduced by the colonialists. But those that took over government after the colonial regime saw it favorable to continue that way. You understand? We must eradicate that because it's non-beneficial. It also brings a lot of strife, a lot of animosity during the electoral period. As we've seen in the 2007 post-election violence, it was tribal-based. If we were not having tribal politics, we wouldn't have had people killing each other and banning each other. So how do we do that? We need to inject new leaders into leadership and governance who are not proponents of tribal politics. We need leaders who speak development. I'd love Kenya to reach a level where a politician stands up and says that I want to be MP, governor, MCA, women rep, etc. because of XYZ, not because sisi lazima tuendelee, sisi lazima tupiganie haki yetu and things like that.
A yes or no answer. Do you feel the current generational crop of leaders who've been there, who are there, the peers of Mheshimiwa Speaker here, have they led through that particular route of saying we are developmental, regardless of the political affiliation that I'm in? This is the kind of leadership we've given the country. Politics of ideology, politics of development? Or do you feel like the reason why you're being itched to want to go in is because they have failed? And that's why now we are seeing a new crop of people like you coming in. A yes or no answer. You know, it's not easy, but so that I can bring him on.
I'd say somehow the old school generation has failed us. I'm not saying all, because you cannot be able to judge everybody using one yardstick. But majority have failed us. Majority are proponents of division, tribalism, and they must go home. The time to go home is right now.
Okay. Speaker, I don't know if you're among those who have to go home. Tell us how you feel probably your generation of leaders has failed the country in steering us towards politics of ideology, politics of ideas, politics of development?
Let me just say this. The biggest problem that this country has ever had is leadership, right? Let's borrow a leaf from Tanzania. Mwalimu Julius Nyerere brought the concept of ujamaa, right? And you realize when you're in Tanzania, it is even offensive to say I belong to this tribe or another, because he was able to unify them, to unify the Tanzanians. He brought, Swahili became the national language. They talk the same language. They feel like they are one and the same. But when we come back to our Kenyan context, one, yes, we cannot run away from the fact that we have 42 tribes in Kenya. But that does not mean that it should translate into be a tribalist country. Because there's nothing wrong to say that I am Giriama, I am from the coast, you're Kikuyu from Mount Kenya. When it ends at that, it is not a problem. The problem is when we start retreating back to our tribal cocoons and we start fighting each other. There's nothing wrong having 42 tribes in Kenya. In fact, that is what God wanted. That's why we are here. The problem is the kind of leaders that we bring into place. They have a responsibility. If, for example, you are elected as the President of the Republic of Kenya, your office is supposed to be a unifying factor for the whole country. Right? But when we start seeing problems, when we elect the President into office, the first problem you see is when they are constituting their cabinet. Let's go back to what happened in 2013. We had a unity between the President Kenyatta and William Samoei Ruto. But if you look at the cabinet, how it was constituted. Largely it was composed from 2 tribes. So at the onset of that presidency, it was very clear to the nation that this is not a unified government. And for that purpose then, I think that is what necessitated down the proponents of BBI. That look here, we have given these people the instrument of power, which is the constitution. On the very least, we expected them to abide by the rule of law. But from the onset, in the formation of the cabinet, then you realize things are not going the right way. We are finding only 2 communities holding 2 key positions, for example. So that's where the problem starts. So it starts with leadership. All right. But like I said earlier, to cure this, and this is a problem that has been seen since 1963, right? And Kenya has struggled so much to ensure that this problem goes away. And in my view, it was cured in 2010, right? The reason why Kenya now has the devolved units, well, the main intention was to dilute the presidency. When you go to Nigeria, the governors have been given powers and resources. They operate like mini presidents, so that somebody from my village will not have to worry about who becomes president. But you realize now, 10 years down the line, Kenya, we are so concerned about who becomes president. All right? Now, the problem, the 2010 constitution, for example, says not less than 15% of the national cake will go down to the counties. It was expected that whoever will be holding the top seat would also know that when you say not less than 15%, that would have meant even 50%. But then you realize we were getting even not more than 15%. When you look at a country like Nigeria, you have almost a ceremonial president, and people don't even care where they come from, because they know all I need is a hospital, I have a governor within my locality, I will get services at the grassroots, so I really don't care who sits in Nairobi. But you see, because of the crop of leadership we have had in this country, it is unfortunate that 10 years down the line, we still have to worry who becomes the President of the Republic of Kenya. And this is the most unfortunate thing, because, one, I'll give you examples. We've had functions. When you look at Schedule 4 of the Constitution, it devolves some functions. Health is one of them, all right? We have health, we have agriculture, but I'll give you a very good example. There was a time when this government contracted, private suppliers to supply the hospital equipment. Each and every county government is forced to pay hundreds of millions of shillings every financial year to some supplier who's not even known, and these equipment are not even there. This is money that should have literally supposed to have gone back to the counties. So we are still holding power at the top level. And in doing so, we still feel that the presidency is the biggest thing we need to fight for.
So you feel it's part of the biggest reason as to why we are still retreating back to our tribal cocoons to push our person.
Exactly, because the perception has, yes, because whereas the 2010 constitution was trying to take that away, the leadership that took over the management of this constitution have not been able to implement that to the latter. Instead, they have created the perception that we still need to have a president of our own. I'm telling you, if the 2010 constitution had been institutionalized properly, if the commissions were working properly, if institutions were built properly, you and I would not even care who becomes president today.
Yeah.
Because now you see, we literally have very weak governors, governors who still have to come to Nairobi to beg for resources to take back the country. That was not the spirit of the constitution. The constitution intention was take the resources from Nairobi back to my village. Then we shall elect a leader within our constituent who will have enough resources similar to what the president will have at the national level. But you see now the reverse is what is happening.
The reverse is what is happening.
Yes.
DNG, you mentioned earlier you are a proponent of the 2010 constitution.
Absolutely.
The speaker here says that those who took up leadership to actually continue on full implementation of the 2010 constitution did not actually do that, and that's why we are seeing the reverse of what it was intended to do happening. Part of those leaders is your party leader, that is Deputy President William Ruto. I want to understand, because you said earlier that the 2010 constitution has everything good in it, that if fully implemented, then we would see a lot of good fruits. We do not need a BBI to be able to fix the current problems that we have. So why is it that we are not seeing a push for full implementation of the constitution, or clearly identifying what articles or what areas that need full implementation for us to be able to see the fruits of what we are looking at in terms of devolution fully functioning, money being channeled down to the people? Instead, we're just seeing Katiba changing is not our priority.
I'd say that we have a president who is not concerned about the republic. We have a president most of his time trying to dismantle the constitution. A lot of people agree this script is perfect. It doesn't need to be changed. It does not need to be amended via referendum. We have a president who has spent most of his time cutting deals that are well known instead of governing. We have a president who does not have the goodwill, because to be you have to be willing to do so. But we have a president who has shown that he's not interested. I'll give you an example. Look at how the president thinks about the judiciary. An arm of government that is autonomous or should be autonomous, independent, that should be able to check that. How does the president of this country treat the judiciary? Now, when the president is issued with court orders, does he obey? You understand? So the problem is with the leader. The problem is with the head of state.
And not his principal assistant.
No, you cannot even come and say, it's like saying the problem of this station is the janitor, not the CEO. It should start with the CEO.
But both of them, the deputy president himself saying that President Uhuru Kenyatta and I are fully in charge of this government. When anything goes wrong, it is the two of us who are in charge. But at this point, he is not...
You've also had the deputy president on record state that he has been sidelined in government. His own words, isn't it? On record, on television, which you can play that clip and we can interrogate that.
Okay. But Eugene, what we need to ask ourselves...
I want to be taken to a short break. We fix something, but then we come back on that firing note.
Okay.
And so that we can also bring in the other guest who I'm told is here, Oliver Kipchumba. I'm hoping that he's already here. And then we can be able to move this conversation forward. Tell us what you think could be the antidote of tribal politics or tribalism in politics. What do we need to do best? What have we not tried to do that we need to try to do, and probably we'll be able to change this? Is this something, or is this a dragon that can be slayed, or this is just a conversation just like any other that we'll always be having in those stools and those conversations, but we'll never have a solution, and probably we've accepted our situation. Tumejikubali na tukasema this is hali yetu, the politics of mtu wetu. And I would love to hear from you. All you need to do is just tweet us and add the hashtag TheBottomLineKE. We'll be able to sample them when we come back from the break. Keep tweeting. We'll see you on the other side of the break. Stay with us.
have to tweet about this.
Phone, what phone is this? Hey, looks good. How much is it?
You haven't heard of the Optiven offer?
No.
I must excuse you to invest too. Optiven has this amazing offer. If you make a commitment of 900k in any of their value-added projects, you get rewarded with a cool smartphone, bro.
Welcome to the Natural Juicing Center. We are a unique organization that seeks to provide the community with an alternative healthcare option. We specialize in the use of a natural holistic system that focuses on building health through cleansing and nourishing of the body. We utilize a variety of natural health promoting methods in our services, which include juicing therapy, hydrotherapy, colon cleansing, massage therapy, and a comprehensive cleansing service, among others. Our juices are freshly made and tailored to each and every client's individual needs after evaluation by our team through our free consultation service. You can now book for any service or order for food supplements on our website www.naturaljuicingcenter.co.ke. You can also visit our center in Kahawa Sukari, house number 1334, Kahawa Sukari Avenue. Natural Juicing Center. Your health is your wealth.
Welcome to Lookup Guest House, Retreat and Prayer Center. When you first come in, we'll be happy to receive you at our reception, then proceed to our cozy and well-equipped accommodation facilities. We aim to provide our guests with a unique, comfortable, and worthwhile experience. Here at Lookup Guest House, we provide our guests with a continuous supply of room amenities. A cool environment for all your retreat activities.
Lookup Guest House, Retreat and Prayer Center. For reservation, contact us on info@lookupguesthouse.org or call us on 0746 788 707. Like, follow, subscribe, click the notification button. Join the Lookup movement now.
Welcome to the Natural Juicing Center. We are a unique organization that seeks to provide the community with an alternative healthcare option. We specialize in the use of a natural holistic system that focuses on building health through cleansing and nourishing of the body. We utilize a variety of natural health promoting methods in our services, which include juicing therapy, hydrotherapy, colon cleansing, massage therapy, and a comprehensive cleansing service, among others. Juices are freshly made and tailored to each and every client's individual needs after evaluation by our team through our free consultation service. You can now book for any service or order for food supplements on our website www.naturaljuicingcenter.co.ke. You can also visit our center in Kahawa Sukari, house number 1334, Kahawa Sukari Avenue. Natural Juicing Center. Your health is your wealth.
Many of your problems, you, and I mean you, must pray for them. It is only in the place of prayer where you establish a relationship between you and God, because there are battles you must fight. Mpendwa, kuna vita zinakungojea upigane, na usipopigana utapigwa. You either fight or you will be fought. Kama unaweza kaa kwa Mungu abadilishe what you think about money, What you think about money is not what the Bible says about money. Wewe hujui hivyo. Kilio kingine unalia hapo. Shida zingine zimekufuata tabia uzaliwe. Ungetafuta dhabihu nzuri. Uombe nayo mbele ya Mungu. Hiyo shida ingeenda haraka, ingeenda asubuhi.
Neno la Hekma with Pastor Ruben Thuo. Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. only on Look Up TV.
Want to grow your business? Broadcast your sermon, share birthday wishes, make funeral announcements, produce adverts and documentaries? Then book and advertise with us today by calling us on +254 700 893 542
700 893 542
or email us on sales@look-up.tv. You're watching Look Up TV.
Right, welcome back. Thank you so much for still being with us. This is the Bottom Line KE. We are here every Monday, 9 p.m. And my name, as always, is Eugene Andangwe. Thank you for choosing us. Of course, on the conversation tonight, we're asking ourselves the politics of mtu wetu. Is it something that we can be able to do away with? Is it part of our culture that is here to stay with us even as we look ahead to the 2022 election? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Tell us what your thoughts are on this. And I want to sample some of them. I have Jackie Sumu on Twitter at _Wesley_KE. And he says we must do away with tribalism if we want to choose better leaders. I have Mohammed at Alami, and he says, I think Wanjiku has a big role to play when it comes to siasa ya mtu wetu. We'll definitely be looking into that a bit deeper. Then another one, the Promised Island, says, as much as devolution is working in some counties, others are still struggling, making it hard for Kenyans to embrace it. Another one here says, at Kipkazi Tendene, says that hustler narrative is bringing an end to tribalism and hopefully usher us into a path of nationhood. We'll hear what the speaker has to say on that. Kalia _KE says, does it mean that we haven't explored the extreme lengths and depth of the Constitution? That's a good one. Captain Joff Wakeni, thank you so much for alerting us on the microphone issue. We've definitely worked on that. I want to make a disclaimer. Hakuna mtu anachezea mwingine hapa vibaya. All right. Yeah. So Miss Lelgo says some politicians claim they are unduly targeted in the war against graft. Has the war on corruption been weaponized? We'll be able to also touch a bit on that. The kind of conversation going on there is on another level. Thank you very much. We want you to keep tweeting, #TheBottomLineKE. We'll definitely sample them right in the course of the program. I still have the Speaker of Kilifi County here, and I also have DNG with us. Of course, anytime Oliver Kipchumba might join us, but of course the conversation has to continue. The good viewers have actually mentioned one thing about the role of Wanjiku, the role of the voter. And it is very, very clear that every time we go to election periods, regardless of where this voter resides, you know, most of the time ethnic allegiance, you know, becomes very paramount in the decision they make at that booth, at that secret ballot. And this is what we've seen in many cases. And that's why you see politician X telling his people, can you register yourself in large numbers? We even had on record some politicians telling their people, can you give birth? So that you are made, so that when we go for the vote, so that we increase our count during the election. Is our electoral process, electoral system to blame? Because we've always said that politics is a game of numbers. Regardless of where you get those numbers and how you get them, what we are counting is the numbers. Is our electoral process the problem?
It is not, in my view, it is not the process. Okay, it's just that the tragedy we are having is that our politics have never been issue-based at all, right? You would realize even when it comes during the time of campaigning, even the political leaders themselves, because there's a culture that is deep-rooted in Kenya. Culture of, give me money, I vote for you. That is one. Number two, the culture of tribalism. We must put him in power. So you realize at the end of the day, you are having an electorate who goes to the ballot to vote for a leader, not because they have analyzed the qualities of this leader, but because they have been informed by the kidogo they were given, or number two, that this is our person. So I would say this, yes, the electorate plays a big role here. Okay, and what needs to be done, and I don't know when we are going to achieve this, is that I'm living with the hope that one day we will have proper civic education to the electorate. I will live to be happy when I come to that day, we find the Mamamboga is going out to vote for somebody because that person has outlined their manifesto to them, they are true to the manifesto, where we can find an electorate examining the past record of that leader. Because we've just had our brother here saying that, our deputy president has been sidelined and all that. But what I want to say is, the problems that this country is facing did not start in 2017, honestly. They started way back. All right? And after the 2010 constitution, it was our hope that when the new government that came in, because the government of the day is the government that started to institutionalize the 2010 constitution. It was our hope that things were going to be better.
So you feel like they did not manage to do that?
Of course.
He said before we went for the break, saved by the break, commercial break, he actually outlined and said that the key person who the buck stops with is the president and not his principal assistant in delivering that 2010 constitution.
I want to categorically disagree with that narrative. You see, the architecture of the 2010 constitution places the president and the president at almost the same level.
The deputy president and the president.
Exactly. They hold one office, said that he's the principal assistant. Unlike the previous constitution, where a vice president could be appointed and fired at any time. I can assure you for a fact, if we didn't have the 2010 constitution, probably William Samoei Ruto would be the deputy president today. All right. So the way the constitution was drafted was to give relevance to both holders of this office, the president and the deputy president. And there's one thing we call that responsibility. We cannot be singing and dancing merry when everything is fine, but when the house starts going on fire, you start blaming one person. That because you're the head of state, you're the one who's responsible.
Is this what he's doing?
I think that was trying to do, because we cannot divorce them, because they still, in my view, exists a marriage, which can be ended or nullified if one party to that marriage walks out of it. But these two principles are still together. Politically, they owe the people of the Republic of Kenya some duty. And the duty is to ensure that they drive this country to the right direction.
Right.
We cannot sit and say the president has failed, but the deputy president has not failed. That cannot work like that.
You feel that that's the beginning of the failure of politics of ideology. It's just politics of being a fan and being supportive of someone just because you feel like
if it was this whole matter was left to me, I would even advise the voter that we have seen what the president has done. All right, we have seen what he has done with his deputy. If the president is going to retire, let the deputy president also go to retire, because there are other Kenyans who can take these things in a different way. Let me tell you, in 2013, this government had the power and authority to make sure that money went to the county government. The president was there, the deputy president was there. The constitution says not less than 15% of the national resources will go to the county government. Now, we still had the president, we still had the deputy president. If you want to ask yourself a simple question, why didn't that happen then? Why should we now start blaming the president? And at that particular time, they're working in a very cordial way, but it still never happened. So what changes are we likely to see now? Because we are still having the same monkeys trying to get into different forests to survive. Yeah.
It's politics of survival.
Yes.
DNG, I mean, this is what people are saying, that in politics of survival, there's a panelist on this particular set who actually said that there is what is called tanga juice. And that tanga juice, if you take too much of it, you'll be told this is blue, and even if it is blue, you'll just say it is red because Tanga juice influence is making you say it that way. I want to understand from where you sit. Wouldn't you, as a person coming into politics as a fresh blood, be saying, you know what, I don't really care which wave is maybe seemingly strong at this moment, but let's look at the facts on the ground. If these two people have failed the country, quote unquote, then I think we should be looking at setting up an agenda for fresh blood, fresh leadership, where, as the speaker says, if the president has to go home for failure to deliver the country and deliver the 2010 constitution as to the latter, then his deputy should also go. So at this point, you'd be saying, apana, even the deputy president, UD and whatever platform he's on, sisi tunataka damu fresh. I mean, would this have made you even more relevant?
What is so fresh about the number two? He's been there since 2013 up to now. Maybe we can
remember, if I may take you back to the beginning of my narrative,
yes.
I said it's not about the president, remember, that we need to focus on the other arms of government, the other levels of government. For me, a lot of people have asked me, why are you running or vying for MCA? I'd say, one, I want to be with my community. I want to deal with the issues in my community, in my ward, in my constituency, in my county. Even before I start thinking about national, let us solve the problems there.
Why not go as an independent? But you have aligned yourself with what the speaker says is still not fresh. It's the same old
what
crop
I can
of
say
leaders.
about my party, because that's what you're asking, why UDA? You know, I'd say UDA because it's fast, it's inclusive. There isn't a party today, Eugene, that embraces youth. Correct me and show me any party that embraces youth. Today we have, I don't know which party are you with, Bwana Jimmy?
ODM, yes.
Do you know how much ODM charges MCA aspirants to register?
Tell us, how much?
20,000 shillings, am I right? How much does UDA charges aspirants? 2,000 shillings, a tenth. Meaning that any person can be able to be a politician. Any person, regardless of how rich you are, how wealthy you are, how much you make, can be able to be a leader as long as they have a developmental agenda. That is a game changer for me. Secondly, the hustler narrative, as one of your viewers has mentioned, has been able to get rid of this tribal thing. And that's what we need to be discussing today. Why hustler narrative? Because it's inclusive. It includes the person who is Chomaing Maindi, Chaliwa Mtura, the guy for shoe shine, the barber, the artist, the DJ, anybody. It doesn't matter what your second name is. It doesn't matter how much is in your bank account. You're included in the mix. And that's what Kenya needs. If you talked about Tanzania, why is Tanzania united? It's because of inclusion. Why is, look at the examples he gave about Nigeria. It's about including every area. So I feel like the conversation today needs to include people based on economics. Because that is the biggest problem in this country. Why do people fight? It's because these people have, these ones don't have. Therefore, these ones are pitted against this one. And they are told that these ones came to our area to call our land, set up businesses. And that's how the violence is orchestrated. You understand? So once we dilute that, once we begin to have conversations about how can we empower our people, how can we develop, how can we provide services, how can resources trickle down, then we change this country. Then lastly, the voter needs to be involved. This is the civic education. This right here is the civic education. You can do civic education through a roadshow, through an activation in the market, or through mass media. So thank you to Look Up TV for this platform.
But let me bring in the speaker, because he was looking, feeling agitated, seemingly not agreeing with some of the things you're saying. Speaker, I think what DNG is saying is that to battle politics of tribalism, we need to shift the conversation into economics. And if we start talking economics and uplifting people from poverty, then we will now start this policy of Mtuwetu. It will be diluted and it will fade away. But there are critics who argue and say that probably there's a creation of a new problem happening right here. And one of those particular problems, the Wiper party leader has said that what UDA is coming as a bottom-up approach is actually the reintroduction of handouts, the reintroduction of harambes, and not real economic empowerment as the funds would love.
Can I give you an example of a place where I've gone to see, the bottom-up approach being manifested in real time? Is Kiambaa. I was invited by one of the leaders to just go and see, as a new party member, what it means, what this hustler narrative means. It means we go to a market, say Dendero market, and we buy produce from that market. We buy fish. There's actually fish in Kiambaa. I was very shocked to see that. We buy the fruits, we buy the njugus, we buy mtura. I actually ate nyama choma from one of the pork joints. Yeah, it's on my IG. You can go check it out at DNG Kenya. You see? So it's not about handouts. We're not handing out money for free. We are consuming. So you organize, you mobilize, and you creatively use resources to empower those people. How about that for a different campaign? I've never seen that in my life. All the times I've been part of politics, I've been in terms of presidential campaigns in 2007, in 2012, 2013. It's all about, I give you freebies, you vote for me, as he said, buying the vote. That's what campaigns have always been. But now it's about change. It's actually showing that person that as a leader, ile maendeleo tunaweza leta hapa ni ya kiuchumi. Tunaweza hakikisha biashara inaendelea. I had no idea that you can get that amount of great succulent pork at Joyland. But now I know. And therefore, if the local area MCA of that place, the local MP can start driving traffic to that place, it will be phenomenal.
Empower that person.
For me, that's what I want to do in my ward. When is the last time you went to Kenyatta Market for nyama choma? Nikualike lini tukule nyama choma, ile ulete huyu alete yule alete yu.
And that's the bottom up.
And that is the bottom up, so that the people in that area can begin to develop, moving from the bottom to at least mid-level, if not the top level.
The argument, Speaker, I know you want to respond, and I'd love you to do it, but as you respond, the argument is that the old generation of politicians are worried of the new models of politics, and that's why they would resort to the old strategies of tribal politics, because the would say chuma chao kimotoni, because the new generation is coming up with new creative ways of actually campaigning and actually delivering their manifestos. And so that's why the older generation of politicians that we continue to see today want to stick to that for survival. True, not true? As you also respond to what he said.
Well, there's some truth in it, but there's one part that I don't understand with this bottom up from the explanation my brother has given. Going to a market, eating nyama choma, that does not change anything.
It does. I'm a part of...
Let me explain this. The fact that you're a leader, you've left Nairobi, you've gone to a village, you've bought nyama choma, you ate and you went back. Even in your absence, people still go to that market and eat nyama choma. The question we need to ask ourselves is, how do we bring up this person from doing the usual nyama choma to go up? Right? We cannot say we are bringing up bottom-up economic empowerment by simply going to the market and buying by consuming what these people are doing.
What will be your alternative?
Because look here, whether you go there as a leader or not, people in the villages, they consume these things on an everyday, on a daily basis. What we need to be told is that how do you empower that person, the common mwananchi, from whatever they are doing to make sure that they grow upward. Now, let me tell you one thing that needs to be very clear, and let the country not be taken for a joyride. The whole idea of political parties coming up. You and I, Eugene, will agree that these are usually vehicles to propel people to power. The same ideologies of empowering the youth, women, people living with disability. These are the same stories that came up when Jubilee was formed. Right? Because whenever these parties are formed, there's usually an agenda. Unfortunately, and I want to say this very clearly, the only thing that can guarantee the citizens of this country the attainment of the economic empowerment is if the constitution is implemented. Because these political parties, in my view, in my short life of politics, I've come to understand that political parties are only vehicles that propel people to power. The same way we're having the formation of UDA now, you see Jubilee is going to join up with ODM. This is because watu wanajipanga. But at the end of the day, who would have imagined that Jubilee would end in tatters today? That can happen to a political party. But it will also be very difficult to do that to a constitution. Therefore, my appeal is, instead of us running away from the problem, we go hide ourselves in a political party where we promise people heaven. Can we try to come together and to ensure that whatever is contained in the Constitution, whatever is contained in the document that is trying to enhance the Constitution is implemented? Because you and I will agree, and we're here today, we are talking about UDA, Jubilee coming together with ODM. But I can rest assure you, after 2022, nobody will bother about these political parties, because at the end of the day, they're just political parties. What we need to strengthen in this country are institutions. How do we make the judiciary work the way it's supposed to work? How do we ensure the independence of the judiciary? I'm a lawyer myself, and I get really agitated when I realize that, or when I see that, you know, the government of the day is disobeying court orders left, right, and center. We need to look at solutions on how to ensure that our institutions are working. Look at corruption, for example. Today we hear leaders are saying you are politicizing corruption. You go out to the public, you're given mandate by the public to lead the people, you loot from the public, and every time institutions are trying to do their job, run back to your community. We are being targeted. So we have institutionalized tribalism even in fighting corruption. Now we cannot make progress if this is the way we are going as a country. And my view is, let's not rush into, let's not lie to ourselves that we, the UDA, we take care of the youth, we do this and this and that, because that is not long lasting. It's just a short, I can assure you, and we'll meet with my brother here, God willingly, after the election. He will have nothing to say about UDA. You see, once you are elected in power, because we have seen it before. This Jubilee this government is a Jubilee government, isn't it? 10 years, what is happening? At least we have the Constitution still working, but Jubilee is neither here nor there. So the same thing is likely to happen to these political parties, because their only intention is to propel leaders to power.
I know we'll have a conversation that is deep on politics of ideology, political parties, strengthening political independence, strengthening political institutions, and ensuring that they actually deliver. But DNG, as you listen to the speaker mention the fact that all this that we are seeing right now is just euphoria, it's not real, it's not something that you can hold on to. If the UDA party gets into government, it could be something that, again, you'll come back to say, now I've joined another party, because there are people who can say that their memory serves them right, that the young people really propelled the Jubilee government or the Jubilee party into getting into government. There were a lot of songs which I'm sure you participated in singing.
No, never.
Never ever? Never?
Never.
Okay. So, but you understand that you have your peers.
And I have no desire
to do it right now because of the situation?
No.
But you have your peers. The point
here is, I was invited to do political campaigns for Jubilee.
But you agree that young people really did play a big role in the development of...
I wouldn't say his representation of young people.
Who?
Ben Githai is the one who sang the song you're talking
about. We're talking about... No. Let's agree that the Jubilee government ran on a very youthful agenda.
Precisely.
Actually,
same thing we are seeing today with UDA. TNA.
That
then transformed into
Jubilee. No. In fact, Talking Matters Party, he's in ODM. Where I'm vying has been known as an ODM bedroom, right? For how long will Kibra or Kibera be called the largest slum in sub-Saharan Africa? For how long will that poverty that is ODM related continue to prevail? That is why we are coming in with new solutions.
ODM has never formed government.
And new ideas and innovations to get rid of this old thinking, because hii ni siasa ya kitambo. Ati we are coming with new parties, but at the end of it we will not be able to live up to our manifesto. Hiyo ni siasa ya kitambo. Sahi we are saying, listen, look at our track record. Like for me, for example, my initiative Hustle Yako has proven in terms of how to empower young people through job skills training, mentorship, apprenticeship, all right, entrepreneurship linkages, be it provision of services, be it jobs, access to capital, pointing them in the right direction. That is how you empower people. You don't empower people with stories and slogans and chungwa and things like that. No. You empower people with actual training, actual empowerment that you can say, yes, I went to this class, I attended this event, I met this mentor held my hand, I was able to take my business to the next level, or I learned how to take my career to the next level of growth. That is what empowerment is all about, and we cannot start to tear that down, because the alternative, you asked him, what is the alternative? There is no alternative. If you ask ODM, what is the alternative of 2022? Hakuna alternative.
But he says ODM has never formed government. It's never been part of government. William Ruto has been in government.
I said, it's not about presidency. Government, there are many levels. Let's talk about the example of that one constituency, where I was born. Where I live, where I've played soccer, where nilibiwa mara ya kwanza, where nilipigwa ngumi mara ya kwanza. Unaelewa? Hiyo ndo mtaa. Hakuna mabadiliko gani? If you look from colonial days mpaka saa hii, kuna nini maendeleo gani Kibra, apart from many more people coming to live there because of poverty? There is no development. Yet somebody now wants to be president, yet their own party, which they call their own bedroom, has nothing to show. That is what we want to change. For me, when I'm going to talk to my people in that ward, I'm telling them, listen, isn't enough enough? Isn't enough enough? Aren't you tired of every election voting in the same party, the same people, the same ideologies, yet nothing is changing?
But he mentioned
so
earlier,
hawa ndio wako na kipindi mbaya sana.
Mr. Speaker, because at the end of the day, what he says, and you had alluded to that fact that it's the same monkeys, different forests, or trying just to be able to politics of survival. DNG, this is what his argument is. Even those who you claim to say that will change that have been there. Yes. They have had.
I'm talking about myself. I've never been there, but I want to come to be the change. In terms of my agenda, if I may, my agenda has to do with the initiatives I've been running. You know my initiatives, they are all on social media for the whole of the country to interrogate. If you look at the community engagement we're doing with 254 Cares, if you look at the health agenda, I'm just running a campaign called Cheza Kama Mimi around contraceptives and engaging men to participate in family planning. Why? So that we can get rid of HIV/AIDS transmission, STIs, unwanted pregnancies, abortions. And you understand? And that gives you an example of the kind of leadership that I will be able to deliver to my people.
Probably the question is, are you not able to come together with other young people of like mind, and not just young, but even also older generation, progressive generation, progressive older generation, without affiliating with the current leadership that has been usual, that has been there? Because probably that is where the problem is. Where is the loose end? Why are we still seeing young people like you and what you say still wanting to affiliate or be in the vehicle that still has the drivers who have been there, who you have actually said your bedroom is a change for long? You know, a lot can also be said still about the leadership of the party that you align to.
It's, in terms of what does it take to become a president, and can a young person aged between 18 and 35 years manage to be a president of this country? It's a tall order. I say that as a young person because of the resources that are required. We all know what it takes to run a campaign. He knows, I know, you know. It takes a lot of money, branding, marketing, logistics, event support, activations, countrywide, across 47 counties. It's not easy. Even to vie as a governor in one county is not easy. It takes a lot of money, a lot of resource. So we can either say one day, we can sit back and wish one day we'll have a 29-year-old who's very rich, who's able to galvanize the whole country, or we can start bringing in the change now. from the ground zero. For me, I'm saying even at MCA level, let's bring that change. Let's ensure that there are no bad draconian bylaws being enacted in these counties so that young people, men, women, can be able to transact, to engage in business without having bad policies enacted in law that are stopping them and acting as barricades to their profitability.
All right, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Your time.
You know, I tend to agree with my brother here. The point that he made earlier on, you know, he alluded himself to UDA and the party leader that we are bringing change and so on and so forth. What he's falling short to tell us is that, in other words, he's trying to justify that our weakness, our financial weakness, is the reason why
we're affiliating.
Exactly. Because when you say it's a tall order to have a 35-year-old president, it requires resources and all that, are you trying to tell us that's the only reason now that we have to cling to people who have already been there, who had the opportunity to bring change, but they never did? Are we saying that because we are weak, that we cannot start something different of our own because we have always to rely to the people who have already been there and have not been able to do anything different? Let me say this, and the narrative has to change. Who ever thought that America would have a black president? Nobody. Nobody. And Obama came from nowhere and he fought through. And people saw that he was the man to bring change, and Americans voted for him. What I'm simply saying is, if we are to bring the change that we need, the change that we desire, then we must be very realistic ourselves as voters. Because we cannot separate, like for example, today, what the president has done and what the deputy president has done. All right? If
the president has failed, the deputy president has failed.
Definitely, because and I want to go back to that. And the only thing I agree with my brother here is that him and myself have an opportunity to change this country. But if we were to do so, we should be able to convince our youthful leaders, our voters, that, you know what, we had this person who was in government. We have this person who are in government. Look at the manifesto of Jubilee. We were promised so many things, stadiums, you know, to empower talents and so on and so forth. These were promises which were done by two principles, right? But where those, were we able to achieve that? So how different is it going to be right now?
I think it's fair that he gets a chance for rebuttal. DNG, what the speaker says is that you are choosing to go with the deputy president because he's loaded, because a young person like you cannot have enough resources to be able to go at or to take a
No,
job.
that's not what I said. I didn't say that. This is not about me and the deputy president. I'm not coming here to represent the deputy president. The deputy president has enough standing to represent himself. Understand? We can organize for that interview as soon as possible if his schedule allows. Now, I came here in my own capacity to represent myself. I'm not saying, and I've not said on this show, that the reason I'm with UDA is because the deputy president has money. No, it's not about that. In fact, I paid to join the party. I paid. I can show you my M-Pesa message on my phone. I paid 2,000 shillings. I'm registered. You understand? So it's me paying, not me being paid. You follow? Now, in terms of why the party, I've been able to articulate that. It's about what the party ideals are. I am about the common mwananchi getting from ground zero to where they deserve to be, a dignified position. Because why? Because I also started from the ground up. You understand? I started from the ground up. I'm not where I am because either I went to a good school or my father was or my mother was. No, hard work, effort, and God's grace. And that is what our message is. Our message is a message of hope as a party. And that's a message that I align with. That's a message that I've been preaching. I've been preaching empowerment and development way before the Hustler Nation was formed. You understand? So there was congruence of thought. Apart from that, it's not about the resources issue that I alluded to. It's about what it takes to run a nationwide campaign. Forget even politics. Let's talk. I've been in experiential agency business for 13 years, managing brands in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. You cannot imagine the amount of money it takes to do a campaign across the country to market a bottle of water. It's a lot of money. How about now to sit with people and then convince them to one day in future come and vote for you? Is it cheap? No. Now about youth, we have an opportunity now to be the change, rather than to spend time talking about the change.
Yeah.
The time to be the change is now. We've supported these candidates, we've campaigned for them and all that, but the time to be the change is now. And I'm calling upon any young person who has a vision, a purpose in this country, be it from Kilifi, Nairobi, Kisumu, Nyamira, Central, it doesn't matter. Go out there. I've told you, it only takes how much? 2,000 shillings to register as a leader.
I'll do an invoice. After this show, I checked our
I'm
invoice.
just showing young people that it's not crazy to be a leader, and that's why I started an initiative called Who's Your Leader in February. To encourage youth to participate in civic processes.
I think what we need to understand now is that, we've talked about the problem. We've talked about the hurdles. We've talked about the challenges. You've mentioned some of them, resources are needed. So probably there are so many young people out here who probably have always wanted to be that change. They wanted to change that, but then they've been, thinking about all those obstacles. I don't have anything in my pocket to give these people for them to vote for me. And probably even sisi kwetu, watu wetu, for me to be mtu wao, they're not enough to be able to make me get into power. And everybody probably wants to change the narrative. But when we sit here, we're not talking about the same monkeys in quote in different forests. What then do we do in terms of what the Constitution says? Because you say that what we need is to implement the Constitution, despite the fact that your party leader has always wanted the Constitution to be amended to have inclusivity that is seen as one of the problems of Mutuwetu politics.
Yes.
What then do we do moving forward? You might not subscribe to their doctrine. You might also not subscribe to their what you call old ways of doing things. So then what do we do as a nation? How do we move to say that 2022 there'll be no Mtuwetu kind of politics? It's about your track record. Whether you're my party leader or not, I disagree with you ideologically and just tell you, party leader, I don't agree. I think it's time these people chose someone who's able to articulate their issues and deliver for them. What do we do, Mr. Speaker?
I think the voter, the electorate, has a bigger role to play in this. Politicians present themselves to the electorate.
Politicians meaning you.
Yes.
Yes.
But one fundamental duty that the electorate fails to do is to evaluate the kind of people who appear before them in the name of leaders. Okay. The moment we start analyzing and trying to see the capacities, the strengths of the people who want to lead us, the moment we are able to choose between leaders and people who just want power, that's the day that we will have the real change. However, one thing I want to say is this. We need to change now. And if we don't change, then change is going to change us, right? And how do we go about that? We have an opportunity in this coming election. One, to sit down and decide that one is not going to be about the tribe one comes from. All right? And number two, we have to ask ourselves, before you cast that vote, who are you voting for? What do they stand for? If this person has been in politics, what has he done before for you? What has he done in this country? Okay. And the moment we're able to ask ourselves those fundamental questions, I'm telling you, we will be able to vote even for a person. We'll be able to vote for Dida, for example. Right? Because you see, our culture of doing politics in Kenya, like my brother has said, is that it's only those with deep pockets are the ones who ascend to power. But we need to come to a place where we are able to evaluate our candidature, our candidates, not based on how much money they have, not based on where they come from, but based on what do they stand for. Okay, because you know, in 2017 when we had the teacher who was running for president, in as much as people ridiculed him, but you would realize he was talking some sense, right? But because the Kenyan culture of doing politics is, how much money are you giving me so that I can vote for you?
And fanatism.
Exactly. All right. So the moment we are able to come to that level where we can say, I am going to vote for Kahindi not because Kahindi comes from my region. I'm going to vote for DNG because I know he's a young man. I know he has a good vision for this country. He has no baggage behind him. He's focused. That's the only time that we are going to bring the change that we need for this country.
But Mr. Speaker, I mean, allow me to say that probably in some instance you're out of order because some people would argue and say that you must toe party lines. The party says you must vote 3-piece, 6-piece. That is where you need to do it. And we have seen a majority of people voting along party lines, even when it comes to decisions at Senate level, at Parliament level, whether they don't agree with it, but because mumeambiwa, the party leader or the party's position is this, you must vote along that. And that has been the culture, and that is what is making people not to have principles, even when it comes to this whole thing of educating the common mananchi. The common mananchi will say, but my leader, yesterday I saw them vote this bad bill into law, yet they want me to make a decision that is contrary to what they're saying.
But you see, that's where the problem lies, because if you read the Constitution, you can actually vie for any political party as an independent candidate. That's why I'm saying this whole scenario goes down to the voter. Right? And probably the mistake we've done, we've not had enough time to do civic education to the voter on what the 2020 Constitution entails. Because let me tell you, if people were alive to the fact that you don't need to be in ODM for you to be elected in Kilifi. You know, like what happened in my county in 2017. We had all the 7 members of parliament, including the governor and the senator, coming from one party. The assembly that I lead has 25 ODM MCAs and 15 nominated ODM MCAs. But that happens because people were carried by the wave. You understand? But majority of people might not even be aware, because there are so many candidates also who presented themselves as independent candidates. So we have not fully appreciated the contents of the Constitution. And by doing so, we realize that we are being carried by forces of parties that, you must belong to this party. My brother here has a good vision for the place that he's running. But I want to tell you for a fact, you can achieve all that without being in a political party. That's the reality of our constitution today. But the question is, does the electorate know that? Because if they are not aware, you will run as an independent candidate, they'll say, my brother, we don't even know you, because you don't belong to this party. You don't matter. All right? So there's a lot of civic education that needs to be done, going down, cascading down to the managing. And whose responsibility is it to do that? In my view, it is the government. At the exception of the 2010 Constitution, I think the government had a responsibility. This, for heaven's sake, this was a new document. There should have been a mechanism where the electorate would have been, educated on. I'll give you a very good example. Britain, for example, does not have a written document called a constitution. All they have are acts of parliament. But you will agree with me, you mess up with a 12-year-old British kid, they will tell you, this is my right, and you cannot do that. Why? Because these things are taught at the earliest level. If the current government could have, for example, taken up the Constitution and introduced it in our education system, so that as the youth are growing up, because let me tell you, somebody who would have joined class 1 in 2010, on the exception of the Constitution, is probably finished with class 8 now. They would basically know what my rights are, what do I stand for. So we find a mechanism within which we can be able to make people understand what their rights are, what the Constitution says, and what it stands for.
People will be able to say no to things that are not driving them towards the right direction. I know we are running out of time, but DNG, I'd love also to hear your thoughts on the way forward. Where do we go from here? Do you also feel that the lack of civic education is a deliberate move by those who are supposed to execute it? Because wanasema mjinga akierevuka mwerevu yu mashakani.
Ushasema wahenga wamenena. I agree. They say several things, that the way to hide information from an African is to put it in a book. So the Constitution in Kenya is a book. In UK, it's what they call common law. Common law, yes. Yani sisi tunajua hii ni makosa, hii ni poa.
True.
So here, that has not been taught. And yes, the responsibility primarily lies with government. Apart from that, there's also the civic society. We have a lot of NGOs in this country that deal with leadership and governance. Where are they? There's a lot of budget. Sometimes I look at these grant applications and I know that because I run an NGO. There's a lot of money that comes from other countries. Where does it go? You understand? We need to have an NGO that is steering this conversation across the country, doing activations in high schools, campuses, TV, radio, buying ad space. The IBC, you know, the IBC only tells us it's time to vote. IEBC, you know that song that is played in all radio stations. And just at the time of voting. But as I said, we don't have this education in advance for people to be able to understand. It just comes in as a spot ad, 30 seconds, and it's out. We don't even remember where are we registering, or do we need to carry. You understand? So again, the lack of education on our constitution is equivalent to poverty. They're the same thing, because if people were emancipated from mental slavery and poverty, they'd be great. They'd be able to ideate, they'd be able to watch this conversation and say, yes, I agree with this one and not this one because of this. And that is what elections are. You have options. You have 14, 10, 15 candidates. Pick one. And pick one that will represent you for the next 5 years for a reason. Not because he or she's from my tribe or he or she's from this party or whatever. Pick somebody because they actually mean well. They're actually great at what they do. They actually have a plan. Some candidates have no plan. I met some aspirants the other day and all they know is gava iko na do. Gava iko na do, maze, kuna macheo, manini, magari.
So they're going in because
we can make that as civilians. We don't need to be in government to make money. We don't need to be in government to drive a nice car and live in a good house and have a meal every day. You need to get into government to serve. And public service is about people. That's why I'm ready to go to the MCA level, not because of prestige, but because I want to serve the people kwa yard yangu mtani.
Pedro Blessing is actually feeling like they are talking about the common Mwananchi currently because of votes, and then they will neglect us afterwards. This is what they feel. Probably the passion right now is majorly because there's something I want from these people.
It's maybe because they don't know us. So follow me at DNG Kenya, backtrack my IG and see how I run my initiatives, who my initiatives target. It's the PWDs, it's the orphan children, it's youth. That's my it's on my
so
gram.
You need to do a lot of civic education about yourself, right?
Inaifanya tayari nishaanza grau tayari.
Sasa
naingia watu wangu hudli Kenyatta.
Read another one. The colloidal structure says voters need to be factual and realistic about what they want, and if the leader they are electing has the desired qualities. Mr. Speaker, I'm sure, I have a feeling that what I've seen in many cases, every leader wants to elevate. Every leader wants to move to another level. He wants to go for MCA today. But 5 years down the line, he'll be telling people, nimetosha mboga kuwa MP. So I'm sure even you're thinking of elevating. From speaker, I'm sure now you're thinking...
I'm running for governor.
You're running for governor. You see, it comes from the horse's mouth. So what the Mwananchi feels is that they are always used. 5 years down the line, we'll go and promise them this. Right now, most of the presidential candidates are talking to us about reducing taxes the moment they get to power. These are promises. It's just like tapping into our emotions as common Mwananchi. And because we are vulnerable, this is what we are going through right now. We will easily say, yes, let me vote for this person. But 5 years down the line, nikulilia kwa choo. You know, you're just crying because the problems, what is happening is even you're being overburdened. You know, why do people like you do that to us?
You see, and this is what I've said. Even I will say it here very clearly. I'm submitting myself for the candidate of governor of Kilifi. But every moment I get to talk to the electorate, I tell them, look, I'm running because I want to bring change. I want to do things differently from what our current governor is doing. And I'm not saying he's not done well, but he's played his part. But I always put it to the electorate. But you have a responsibility. Kahindi is running for governor. But you know, there are only 47 governors in this country. You're not a governor and you're still living your life. So you have a responsibility as a voter to evaluate the people who come before you. Because the problem we're having is we somehow, and we cannot blame it on the politician. We must also blame it on the electorate. Because remember, the politician has only one vote. The rest of the votes are coming from the people. So the people have the responsibility to look at who are we voting for. And the time that we'll stop looking at political parties, because what the mistake that we ever do is, especially when we are moved as a bloc, it's six-piece. That narrative of six-piece, that is what lands us in trouble. I would want to be elected as Kahindi because the electorate has understood what I stand for.
Yeah.
And if they feel that I don't speak to their minds, then they have, of course, the right to say you're not the proper candidate. Yeah. So this cannot be blamed purely on the politician.
Yeah.
Because the politician has a single vote. What do the electorate do before they vote? The moment you will continue accepting handouts, the moment you will not take your time to evaluate, to understand the history of this politician, right? My brother here has been talking about the initiatives that he's been doing. I think what he's trying to say, this is my CV. Look at it. I have never served in government, but this is what I stand for, right? But the mistake you will find, because he's still a young man, and the voter will say, look, we have a brilliant chap called PLO Lumumba. Who doesn't know that PLO Lumumba is a brilliant chap? But he ran for member of parliament. What happened?
So and you're good, but you're in the wrong party.
You're in the wrong party, or you're good, but you don't have the pocket, right? So the day we will look at people, the day we will stop looking at the wallets of politicians, the day we will stop looking at political parties and look at individuals. And you see, the Constitution had foreseen all that. Kenyan people were given that opportunity by the Constitution. That look, you can stop looking at DNG because DNG has money. You can stop looking at DNG because DNG's father is a billionaire. You understand? You can look at DNG independently, and that's why the Constitution has given you the power to even elect somebody who does not belong to any political party. But where the problem is, the problem is we still tie to that euphoria of parties, euphoria of tribes, and that's the tragedy of this country.
Sadly, we have to end the conversation here, but it continues on our online platforms. But I would love to understand, probably because you said that the moment we stop the, politics of things will be okay. The moment the citizenry will be empowered, then things might be much better. But it's understandable that every person wants to survive in a certain way. So probably when they see the weakness, they take advantage of that weakness for them to be able to survive and be able to move forward. I know we'll have a conversation on the politics, commercialization of our politics, where you have people getting into politics not because they want to serve, but because they have seen the moment an MP gets in there, the parks are raised, there's this allowance that the stomach becomes bigger. I hope DNG, you're going to be competing when you go in there. You get. So we will have these conversations, but I want to thank you so much for making time to be here and just spend your time in this cold to just speak about these important things. And we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
That you do. Right. Thank you so much also for being a part of this conversation. The conversation continues on our online platforms. I see Miss Lego, conversation is hot. If you're not tuned in, you're missing a lot. It's been on our platforms. It's been on all our platforms, and of course all you need to do is be able to go back there if you missed this. It will be up on our Facebook page, on our YouTube channel, and of course we'll be able to still track the hashtag TheBottomLineKE to keep this conversation going. Who else would you like us to have on the show? What kind of conversation would you like us to have? We'll be happy to bring them on. Kangware's finest, thank you so much for actually being a part of the show and for always being supportive together with your teams. We want to say thank you to our crews that are behind the scenes that have made this show a success. Asanteni sana. We'll see you again on Monday, same time, same place. As for now, my name as always is Eugene Anangwe. Good night. Yeah.
You're watching Look Up TV.
We value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our programming and operations. Feel free to get in touch with us through 0700 893 542 or send us an email to views@look-up.tv. We can't wait to hear from you.